More than 60 years later, the assassination of JFK still sparks questions, debate, and intrigue. And now, a new fictional story dives into the mystery, exploring conspiracy and courage, and whether the truth could change everything we think we know. So we have author of Across the Knoll, Steve Fantetti, here with us today. How you doing, Steve?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Okay, I love your passion. We're talking off air.
Yeah.
What made you really want to write this story? Again, it's fiction, but talking about this real historical event.
Yeah, no, thank you. Historical fiction, basically you take real life events and you can make up your own stories within them, use some of the characters. And I was really motivated by the fact that, that event changed American society, in my opinion, and the opinion of several others. And I think, more for the worse, but I like to focus on the positives, which means there's facets from that assassination that we should take in today's society because things like that are still happening. Government secrecy, privacy, hiding information and the truth, and then how much we trust our institutions. And I think we can take that from these events, not just focusing on did the mob do it and all these different things.
Yes,
so I like to focus on these different parts of it.
There are different ways to take in history. For instance, my fascination with the JFK assassination came once I went to the grassy knoll, going to that place where it happened. And then, of course, reading books like the ones you've written.
Yeah.
For you, have you been there?
Oh God, yeah, I went 4 or 5 times while writing the book because I had to see different angles. You see how small it is when you're there.
Sure.
And you see it in movies like the JFK Oliver Stone movie, or you see it on TV, it's different. And I even wrote a chapter sitting on the grassy knoll just to say that I did it for this book. So, but it's great. I think that you feel the history, you feel the sense of the importance of the fact that if you can keep the stories going and put them in a positive light instead of just focusing on death, I think when you're there, all that stuff kind of comes to you. And I think part of the way I set the assassination up in the book, in terms of how I think it went down, just from what I've read and researched, when you're in Dealey Plaza, you start getting a sense of, there's all these different areas of exposure, and it starts opening your mind to think that different things could have happened.
I think I'm getting at something you want people to take from this is that we don't always know the truth. History is presented in one way, but we weren't there to see it happen and unfold. And you said you kind of got that inspiration the first time you saw the Oliver Stone film.
Yeah.
Comparing that to what you learned in school, for example.
Yeah, I grew up in Canada, so we don't really touch on the JFK assassination. But when I came to the States for education, for college and stuff like that, you take history classes, you're kind of given that narrative that the Warren Commission wrote, that's a single shooter, and you're reading it. And then, at that time, I could see why people would believe it. But now with more resources, you're like, this can't be it. We have to question it. And you can't be afraid to explore the past and question it. And so I get into that in the book. And I think it's important to understand that, there's different ways you can study history, like you said, but you can also be aware that what is going on in society today, are those things continuing? Would we be able to handle it if it went differently, or if truth was exposed? And I want that to be a part of the book where people can start questioning and making sure that they understand there's a different way to look at events than just what they're told in one way, like you said, in the way the Warren Commission was back then.
Sure, so I can think of 2 reasons that this is very timely. Like you said, you look at events happening today and saying, hey, can we believe this? What's hidden? And then also the fact that it's America's 250th anniversary coming up this year. So that's is this year, so that's a big thing too. I also just want to say, as far as these characters go, again, they're fictional characters. How did you create those? Do they have their college kids? Are they any reminiscent of anything that you experienced or saw in college?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I went to an engineering school mostly for undergrad. I didn't study engineering, Michigan Tech University in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And, the book focuses on 2 college students that were engineering students. And so I kind of grabbed that from my experiences, knowing a lot of engineering students, and they were always trying to be creative and create different things. And so these students in this book created a different camera that didn't exist back then. Cameras lagged, you couldn't move from one side to the other with clarity, how you processed 8mm strips. So they created something that was a lot better and didn't exist, and that helped them capture the events. And the book's a race on how they can survive when they capture and they find out the truth they have. And so I thought connecting that to engineering was important. But there's a lot of true characters in there, like Jack Ruby and Oswald. Obviously are all in it, and we kind of tie it together and make up a story. Exactly. Blend, good word.
I didn't even put that together.
There you go.
Well, Across the Knoll, of course, available all the good places where books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, so you can find it. And Steve, I don't know how you do it. I know you're a sports agent, attorney by day, and then, working in time to write. You also have a sequel coming out, so good for you.
I do. Thank you so much. It's great to see you, other than walking our kids to school every day.
Up next.